And that's the difficulty with entrepreneurship. It's the difficulty with change. It's the difficulty with strategic planning. If I take simply the shareholder view, it's pretty easy. Make as much money as you can. That's the shareholder view. And that's the easiest view. That's what most companies will say. Make as much money as I can. But then all of a sudden you've got all of these other stakeholders, your employees, your suppliers, your customers, the government, the citizens of Santiago. They also have a stake, and so there's this big battle that goes on. There's not a single bottom line to your business. And that's critical as we approach entrepreneurship. It's absolutely essential, so it's going to be measured differently by different people. All right? Once we get past that, then, there are three types of entrepreneurship. There's three types of entrepreneurship for companies. How to create new value within an existing company. Three different ways to go about it. The first way to go about it is to conform. It's transactional planning. You're conforming. With transactional planning, there's not a lot of change. It's defensive. You're doing what you're doing now, you're just doing it better. So in other words, if I'm producing cars, but I'm doing it with fewer people. I've cut costs. I've done it with paint that I can get less expensively and the same quality. I'm doing now what I'm just doing it better. I'm conforming, I'm not transforming, I'm simply transacting. I'm doing better at what I'm doing now. Now, when you come up with this kind of change, most people are okay with it. They don't resist this kind of change. Now, employees, if you're going to cut down headcount, if you're going to cut down the number, they'll have problems with it. But for the most part, you're just improving what you're doing now. You're simply improving what you're doing now. It's imitation. You're cutting out the slack. You're cutting out waste. And every company does this kind of planning. Every company does this kind of planning. In fact, just for fun, I love this. This one I'll be able to show here. Watch this. I took this. Check this out. Here is a process. They used to carry the dirt on their heads, and they used to carry it in buckets up. Now look, you've got 4 guys here to throw it to 3 people, to throw it to 2 people, to throw it to some people, and then you have the people that have to watch. And there was a lot of transactional planning that went into this. A lot of transactional planning went into that process. The bottom line, it's not revolutionary. They simply said, if we have 4 people here, 3 people here, 2 people here, and a couple people on top, that's pretty darn efficient. And there was not a new process, a new revolutionary way of doing things. They simply tried to make it better. And they found that by doing this, it was better than carrying buckets up to the top. So, there's another kind of planning. This is conforming. This is doing better with what we're doing now. This is transforming. This is where the big ideas are. This is where the big ideas are. Transformational entrepreneurship, transformational planning accelerates change. It accelerates competition. It's revolutionary. It thinks about the industry in a whole new way. And there are 2 ways to do this kind of planning. The first way to do this kind of, let me share this with this is going to be fun. I did some research to see what people thought were transformational ideas for the future. Here's some transformational ideas. I did internet search. I'm just going to show you a couple. Here's the first forecast. The era of the cyborg. I love this. Did you get that one, cyborg? Good. You watch Star Trek. Okay. The era of the cyborg is at hand. Researchers in Israel have fashioned a biocomputer using DNA of living cells instead of silicon chips. They're soon going to be able to connect the computer directly to your head for supercomputing. Do you believe it? They say that's going to happen. Do we have it now? Do we have this kind of computing? No, we don't have this kind of computing. Try this one. Here's another revolution. By 2015, now watch this one. New York, Tokyo, and Frankfurt, Germany may emerge as hubs for a high-speed, large-capacity supersonic jets. NASA's X-43A scramjet recently flew 7,000 miles per hour. Now, what this means is, you're going to 10 times the speed of sound. These planes will carry passengers from New York to Tokyo in the time it would take us now to drive to the airport. And by the way, that's 2015. That's 5 years from now. Do you believe it? No? No. I mean, I don't know whether I believe it either. I didn't sound. Schools? I don't want to talk about schools. Basically, the classrooms will no longer exist. You, the teachers, will dwindle and go away. I don't like that one. Hydrogen energy? These are all revolutionary ideas. And these are things people are actually working on. Those are these are big ideas. But they don't need to be this big. The first type of transformational planning is forecasting. Forecasted planning is what we're doing, is looking at the future and saying, what will the future bring? And we're saying, if that's we're looking at the past and extrapolating into the future, and we're saying, we're looking at patterns, and we're saying, what will the future bring? And if I know the future will bring this, then I need to be prepared for that future state. And that's transformation. For example, let's do some forecasts. How many of you believe that there will be more older people in the future? We're all older people. Yeah, there's going to be more older people in the future. And what does that mean for us? What does that mean for your company? Older people, they want bigger letters. These little keyboards on the computer will not be the same. Have you ever driven your car down the street next to an old person? That's a scary thing. That's a very scary thing, because the lines don't mean the same thing to an older person. They don't see the signs the same way. They can't even see the dashboard of their car. And hear? You're honking. They can't hear. But if we're expecting more older people in the future, what does that do to your company? How does that affect your company? Let me ask you this one. We just had a conference here yesterday on energy. How many believe that energy is going to be a bigger issue in the future? How many of you believe it's going to be more expensive in the future? Yeah. What does that mean for your company? What does that... I can tell you, I'm working with companies right now. In fact, Tim Sutherland that you will meet this afternoon, he invests in energy all over the world. That's his deal. But I can tell you, if energy is important to your company, you've got to be thinking about that now. You can't wait for it. You've got to be thinking of it now. And you can be the transformational leader in your industry. That's what forecasting is all about. That's what forecasting is all about. I got to tell you, if technological change, my gosh. If I asked how many have a cell phone, everybody would say, yeah, I've got a cell phone. If I said, how many of you had a cell phone 10 years ago? Everybody would say, no, probably didn't. Yeah, nobody had a cell phone. The rate of change is phenomenal. If we can forecast that change accurately, our company can transform and lead the industry, and lead the world, and lead the thinking. Thus, when I go about my entrepreneurship, and when I take a look at value added to my existing business, I've got to think forward. What will future markets look like? A scary one for me, and I always ask my classes this as well. How many of you think there will be more terrorism in the future? Man, a scary thought. That's a scary thought. And it's scary because I literally speak all over the world. And I have yet to go to a country, even Moscow, in which they don't raise their hand there's going to be more terrorism in the future. I haven't been to the Middle East. I'm afraid to go. But the bottom line is they'd probably say, nope. Yeah, forecasting, it matters. That's